So she said she'd be in touch with us when she can be. So hopefully, light to the electricity, light to the winds, because the winds that mean the electricity people switch it off.
But she could be on her phone without electricity if she wanted to.
That's a good point.
If yeah, if she has that cellular ability,
The cell service up at Windermere can be very spotty.
yeah.
So we
Oh,
had we
yeah.
had this trouble when we were there too. They had the exact thing going on. There was high winds and yeah.
And
So
so
sunlight,
A Wi-Fi would be dependent on which is
the
the option to
electricity.
your cell service, but it would be dependent on electricity. So
Huh.
Well, let's call on the light and send the light to Windermere and all that's going on in our world.
Okay, Matt, would you like to call in the light?
Yes, I'd love to.
Great.
Okay, Father, Mother, God, just now we call forward the light of the Holy Spirit through the mystical travel of consciousness, through the unconditional loving of the Christ within each one of us. And we invite all of our way showers and guides to be with us, to strengthen the light at this gathering. We understand that just by coming together here, it's a light action. We welcome this to take place for the highest good of all concerned, with joy and gratitude and laughter. And we recognize that we may never know just what happens here, the positive effects, but we can trust that all is well and that we are blessed beyond measure. And we give our thanks. Berush Beshan.
Spishan.
and
Outside
you,
you,
And
and
you.
you,
you,
And
and you. Well, here we are.
here we are.
I notice the older I get, the harder it is to make a soft sound. So like chanting softly.
Mm.
I think it's my vocal cords are not as pliable as they were, like everything
Mm.
else about me. And so when I send my breath across the cords, it needs more volume
Mm.
to make a sound.
Mm.
And um, I start off okay, and then suddenly the sound stops because I don't have enough volume, which is neither here nor there. But
Oh, but it sounded beautiful on this end.
Yeah, I really did.
Yeah, it did. I was thinking to myself, wow, Andrew sounds really good.
oh, bless your
Yeah,
heart.
yeah.
You just
Well,
keep doing that sound, Andrew. It's really
yeah,
good.
yeah. I shall. Uh, I was the one who had some homework, so why don't I kick things off with
Yeah.
seeing if I know how to do this thing. I hit the share button, and then I go to what I have. Let's see, how's that? Mhm. See if I go there. So are you guys seeing anything right now?
Seeing Zoom.
Yeah,
As you started sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me, I learned last time how to do this, I think. So what I did, just as a prelude, I put in as a search, I put in funding for community gardening.
Mm.
And there's a lot of information out there, not some funding. I'll just show you kind of what I came up with. Um, this outfit is called Seed Money, and they have they have a lot of. I'm scrolling through this, Matt, with the different subheads. Actually, I started at the bottom, so I start at the top. The benefits of community gardens, finding local gardens, getting a plot, starting a community garden, backyard gardening, growing strategies, garden rules, and external resources for community gardening. So these people are more of a resource in terms of information.
Mhm.
But they do have, they call it seed, yeah, they call these the seed money. And they have a platform where it's mostly for nonprofits, and we would qualify for that. And it provides this platform for crowdfunding.
Hmm.
And and for every $10 that your organization raises, they pitch in $1.
Oh, how funny.
Um, so it's another way to think about raising money. I mean,
Mhm.
in terms of crowdfunding, we almost could do that in our MSIA community.
Mhm.
Seems to me, if we had a specific project, especially within the gardening, a specific project,
Mhm.
uh, that's something we could think about anyway. So I went to one of these. So I've got external resources, and there were they've got Obama's White House community garden. So I don't know how old this is, some of it. I saw that one of the people on their board had been instrumental in getting the Obamas to start a garden at the White House.
Huh.
I'm going to look up here. This other place, this one down here, the ACGA Community Garden. That's these folks, American Community Gardening Association, and their focus is promoting community gardens, especially to underserved communities, but also communities in general. And
Mm.
I think David's idea of doing a CSA, and I'll be darned if I can remember what that stands for. It's community service agriculture or something like that, where
Mhm.
you can either with a CSA, you either buy a share for the season, and so the grower gets money up front, and he gets to share the risk of the season
Mhm.
with the people, with the members of the group. So
Mhm.
if they have if they have a problem with a crop and it doesn't produce nearly what was expected, the farmer doesn't isn't the only one who gets hurt. You do too, because the tomatoes, you only get a few tomatoes, kind of thing.
Mm.
Uh, but that's a CSA, and there are different ways to do it, as far as I know from my experience. And one of them is to buy a share. Another one is there are different levels, and you can, kind of like a co-op, you can put in a couple hours a week in the garden doing different things, or
Mhm.
harvesting and getting the food ready, that sort of thing.
Mm.
Uh, and David's talked about doing that. And I think that really would be a profile that would be pretty attractive to funders. The other piece that I saw in terms of funding was for nonprofits, that it seemed to be very community oriented. So that the idea of some of these, that most of these community gardens, they're like community garden plots where people in the inner city can have a place where they can go grow vegetables. And in the course of doing that, there's funding available to support that. I don't know, how much Windermere would qualify in that aspect, but it might, especially to the degree that we want to include community around, in and around Santa Barbara and Windermere. So there's this American Community Gardening Association. These are some of their 10 steps to starting a community garden, a guide to growing community gardens, a management toolkit. And they've got a lot of, they do a big conference. They're doing a big conference in New York City in June. This is a pretty good resource for whoever's doing the actual gardening, is what it looked like to me. And then there's this outfit called the Farming Insider, and they had they have a fair number of different categories that mostly seem to be about educating. So this one is, as you can see, small livestock management for sustainable farming practices. Introduction to small livestock. What's the definition? The importance to sustainable farming. Then they go into crop production, the benefits of raising small livestock. They go into the different kinds. Of which goats are. So they do goats, chickens. Goats and chickens are really the most in terms of value, in terms of manure. Rabbits, ducks, and here's the economic aspects, nutritional aspects, selecting the right small livestock species. So considering what your grazing is and your ability to feed them, and all of those kinds of things, which it's not really our role at this point to be presenting this, but it's not a bad idea to, at least, as I go through this, I thought I would bookmark it as something we can turn over to Windermere as they consider what they're doing. Here's another category in the Farming Insider: exploring conservation tillage and cover crops for sustainable U.S. gardening. And again, it goes through everything, what is conservation tillage, benefits, what are cover crops. Another one is, so there are a whole bunch of categories. Here they are right here.
What is tillage?
Tillage?
Yeah.
To till the soil.
Okay, conservation.
And to plow.
Okay.
They talk about it a lot in the Old Testament.
Oh, very good. I haven't caught up my Old Testament with that.
So we've got livestock management, agricultural technology, agribusiness strategies, farm to table movement, sustainable farming practices, gardening and small scale farming. So all of these are resources for them who are doing it. This is not funding per se.
Yeah.
So let's move on. So this is the seed money people, and they have been around for some time, since 2002, and maybe I'm confused between the community gardening resources. It's the seed people who as you can see here, our flagship program is an annual crowd granting activity called the Seed Money Challenge, open to any public food garden project located anywhere in the world. All campaigns launch and end at the same time, and you compete for challenge grants ranging from $100 to $1,000.
Hmm.
The question I would have is, when they say public food garden project, would we qualify?
Mhm.
And it's a little tricky, isn't it? You know, Windermere's comes under a 501c nonprofit category, but we aren't really a public. It's that whole question that you were addressing last time, Matthew, about how open to the public are we, and is that how much of an intention is that?
Right.
So they've got, but this was interesting to me. I think, let's see if I can. No, I can't move that. Oh yeah. So they talk about, the headline is impacts and metrics. They helped 426 garden projects in the last year. And so they had 351 challenge grants and 312 online garden planning. So they're very active, and they've been around. This is a map of Africa and Europe, Matthew, and North America and South America with dots on every place they've got projects, and it's heavily North America, U.S., and Africa, interestingly enough.
And
So
France is just one.
France, yes. And unfortunately, when you click on it, it doesn't tell you where it is. I wanted to see where it was.
Oh, yeah. It might be near your house, huh?
Well, if we go by where it is in France, it's not near either of us. It's closer to Paris. We don't mess with Paris.
No.
We're too cool for Paris.
Oh, understandable.
Yeah. I don't know what else we got here. Here we go. Our X factor. For every dollar in grants we've given our partners, they've raised $4.05 from donors.
Uh-huh.
So they really are leveraging their technology and their abilities to teach people how to raise funds.
Yeah.
To help them, help themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much what I have brought to the table.
It's a smorgasbord, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Andrew, I have a question about who what kind of organization or institute qualifies, because in my just as an example, in my research when I was trying to get Toronto listed as a national monument, the grants that I was looking at, religious institutes didn't qualify. So, and of course we were considered that as a church, but I don't know about Windermere, although it's owned by a church, so I don't know. Just offering that information in case it's helpful when you research it.
Linda, welcome. Good to see you.
There's Linda. Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Hi. We have no electricity, no internet, and my car died.
Oh my God.
More
Well,
fun.
I'm sorry, that's a non sequitur.
But I don't know how I could get on Zoom with you. I came over to the bunkhouse and there's phone connection, so maybe that's how it's worked. But anyway, here I am. How are you doing? And David couldn't make it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
We hope that you have like an unlimited data program on your phone, because you're going to be using data up if you're on cell.
Thank you.
service.
That's probably that is what I'm doing.
I bet no, I bet Linda, if you're at the bunkhouse, you're using the Wi-Fi that comes in there, and then it gets spread around all over the property. But whenever there's something down that it doesn't shoot all over the property. It just stays at the bunkhouse.
Well, but a Wi-Fi, the router has to be plugged into electricity.
They have a setup where, anyway, in past, what I've experienced is I've been able to plug in at the bunkhouse even when the power's off, but
Uh-huh.
just there.
Whoa,
And
I didn't know that, but nobody told me that. They told me I'd be able to be on my phone.
oh.
Yeah.
But anyway, all good. It's all good, and it looks like I do have internet. So maybe they actually everybody was up at the Quonset figuring it out. So
Mm.
maybe they reconnected.
Mhm.
Well, you just
Anyway,
missed
hi everybody.
you
I
just missed my presentation, Linda.
I am so sorry, Andrew.
Well, there is a recording.
Okay. Are you finding out good stuff?
Um, what do you guys think?
I think
There's lots of really nice. Oh, go ahead, Ann.
I think there's a lot of good information that are beyond our remit. But what Andrew's produced is a lot of useful stuff that I'm sure you'll enjoy getting something from it. That's what I
Great.
Yeah, so basically, when I started looking for funding for gardening, it was community gardening, and ideally, it was a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so then, more than half of what I was finding was resources for uh, putting together a community garden,
Yeah.
and that included livestock, small scale farming with livestock, and which livestock,
Yeah.
and how to look at what you're doing in terms of your resources and what you should consider, and of which goats and chickens were primarily featured because they provide such great manure. So
And yeah, wonderful. And so, I guess we'll look at it, the scope of what we're doing, or maybe you're just sending a light. We had a work party this weekend. There were 28 people from
Wow.
1 to 5 on Saturday, and then we had a potluck dinner. And we completely, I'll say, we got old hay from all around the ranch. We mulched the garden. We tongue oiled the fence. I mean, it was like
Wow.
it was awesome. And
Wow.
maybe that's just about that you sent the light.
Mm. Boy, that's an amazing turnout for a work party. I had no idea there would be that many people there.
You're muted, Linda.
No, I'm not. I'm probably going in and off internet. I'm
Okay.
not muted.
No, you're not now.
Okay, but anyway, if you know Maria Isabel, she had a peace walk up here on Saturday
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
And then we invited anybody who wanted to come to the work party, and
Wow.
everybody came.
That's
It
awesome.
was a
how
blast.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Excuse
missed it,
me. I'm going to
Linda.
get it. Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I was just saying I was facilitating class on Saturday. Otherwise, I would have been there. Next time,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. There'll be another one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Next time for us too, Rita and I, yeah, looking forward to another one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Ann and I will make any promises, but you never know.
No, not immediately promises, but who knows? Things can happen.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
You never know.
So how about if I just listen? Because I'm late coming, and you already did, Andrew, your presentation, and I'll just listen to see what else you're doing, and
Well,
then
we were just, as you showed up, we were just considering what I discovered, and Carol had just shared that when she was looking to set Prana up as a national certification as a monument or whatever, she ran into certain, religious institutions were not especially eligible.
Yeah.
And so, as I think it was you who told us, or Carol, that IIWP no longer is a standalone uh, uh, corporation. It's under MSIA now. Is that accurate? That would be a question to you,
Are you
Linda.
asking me? I
Yes.
don't know. I never heard that. It's to me, it's an nonprofit individual. I don't know the end. If
I
it's
think
something else,
we
I don't know.
we need to check on that because I heard it differently or read it somewhere, like maybe New Day Herald or something like that.
Yeah, I expect that David would have a handle on that.
Yeah, I can ask him about that.
Yeah, that would be good to know in terms of as I continue to look for funding, because that there would be that gray area if it's no longer a standalone
Yeah.
501c. It would then be owned by a church, which, as Carol learned, is people are less generous with their grants. It's less of
Well,
a public.
Yeah, I hear that. Interestingly, so when I do donations and my tithing and my whatever I send to IIWP, that comes on separate. Those are separate tax statements.
Yes, it is separate, but I can't dismiss what I read or heard about it coming under.
I'll talk to David and I'll put it in an email.
Great. Thank you.
And
so you have it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and if the answer is unclear, then one of us or us as a group could approach the presidency to get some clarification.
That's great, Andrew. Okay.
Yeah. So that's about as far as we are. It's a semi-encouraging what I uncovered.
Yeah.
And but I expect that well, two things. Number one, that we aren't going to in terms of finding funding and making it work, it's unlikely to be this season, just because we're getting into the gardening season pretty far along.
Right.
And so also in keeping with that, it's not something that we're going to complete within the context of our coming together as to do community service for the DSS.
Right.
But I don't know about you other guys. The more we're doing this, the more jazzed I get by it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to I want to stay plugged in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll read this. I didn't actually see this until like 2 days ago. This IWP newsletter. Did you all get a chance to read this, the latest one?
I did. I thought it was beautiful.
Well, this part that David wrote stood out because we were talking about what's the vision for Windermere, and he says the vision is clarifying amongst the ranchers of peace and the broader Windermere community. What is emerging is the stewardship of a sustainable ranch with regenerative food production as a central aspect. So nutrient-dense food for the bellies of those who live at the ranch and guests who visit, and then for the broader community. So they've mentioned prana a couple times in that to me.
Yeah.
So I'm asking myself, how much food can we grow this year? And I intend to find out. So I thought that was applicable to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading that.
Yeah.
Nat, would you send that to me? For some reason, I didn't get it. So if you send it to me, then I'll be able to get back to them and say, please put me on the list.
Yep.
Because I'm a donor. I've been a donor forever.
Sure.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So maybe
so how
you'd
is the
like,
food going, Linda? How is the growing
yeah,
going?
good. I'll talk to that right now. So, um, anyway, the last month we've been figuring out what we're going to do with the gophers. And I've been taking my Tuesday morning gardening class, 3 hour gardening class on Tuesdays. Plus, I signed up for one with the Nigel Palmer, who's all about regenerative gardening. And that has been the last 5 Saturdays for 3 hours. And that is an incredible program that he has and that he taught. There were people, there were probably 40, about 40 of us in the class, but from all over the world, India and Ireland and uh, where else? England, Scotland,
Hmm.
uh, Belgium. I mean, just a broad range. And so then, in Canada, anyway, so we met on Saturdays and he taught about regenerative gardening. Part of what is creating from the land and from the plants that are there, like weeds, fermented plant juices, and uh, vinegar extracts of bones that you dilute 1 to 500 up to 1 to 1,000 and just spray on the land and on the plants. It can be on foliar spray, it can be on fruit trees, on the bark, on the ground. It has all the minerals that people that are needed to grow things. It's like instead of going to a store and buying NPK or things, there's a balance of minerals and electrolytes. There was this whole, so that in itself is invaluable, and we are doing that. Ashley is doing vermicompost. So we have a big worm bed in the barn and are taking off what falls out the bottom is the dirt with worm poop in it, and she puts it in water, and then it's strained, and that is sprayed on the garden. So that has all the microbes and the other everything else the garden needs. So we've been doing that, and we are just going to continue it through the season, as we go along. So right now, so then I want to say over the work party weekend, we took the dump trailer and completely filled it with hay that had just been, there were a bunch of bales kind of across the road from the deck house. So they brought all that hay down, and that all got spread to a good thick amount on the whole garden. So what we're doing right now is putting it there so I'll say the grass that has been taken over the garden it's going to kill the grass and the roots. Then we're going to dig through and around that hay and plant our crops. So right now right now the things that are good to plant are potatoes, root vegetables like carrots and beets, brassicas, kale, those kinds of things, lettuces. So leafy greens, especially dark leafy greens. So we are, let's see, one of the raised beds is pretty full with that, one of the stone raised beds. And another one, actually, two of them are pretty full, peas. So those are happening. Then we are working in the greenhouse, just getting started planting plants. But I have a feeling I'm just going to buy a bunch of plants this year to get this all going, because right now the weeds are not dead yet. I didn't know enough last week to do what I can do now. So there's that. And all I can say is it's going to be very productive, but we're not just going to do the gardening space. We mulch all the way up to the fence everywhere so that we're expanding the gardening the
Oh, wow.
garden opportunity. So it's been so dry along the fence that really we haven't planted anything there though. So this bringing that old hay in and letting it kill some of the grass and cover the earth with water, that is going to start turning that into soil. And with the sprays that we're using, the natural sprays,
Huh.
we're just going to start regenerating the land. The other thing we did a few weeks ago was, and yeah, Matthew, you were probably here for that when we were spreading the goat manure from their pen or
Yeah.
from their enclosures into the over the whole place. So we're doing all of that to really create good soil.
Amazing.
The compost out of the chicken coop, we can't, that has to be composted. So that's all gone into the compost. And so that will take some months before that breaks down. That's where we put our food scraps and everything else. So
Mhm.
all I can say is it's under production, and I think we're going to have a fabulous garden this year. Later, like when the soil is warm, then we start planting things like the squashes, the pumpkins, watermelons, and those kinds of things, tomatoes, and all of that mixed together makes a food forest.
Mhm.
So it's just happening, and
It's happening.
I am learning. We're all learning. So I have on our committee is our gardening committee is Ashley, Amanda Grice, and Makeda and me. So we have a meeting once a week and we talk about what's next. Well, last week in our meeting, we said we're going to put raised beds in the whole other area of the garden because of gophers and put screens on the bottom. But this week I learned that those screens, since they're metal, unbalance the electrical system in the ground, which is the way the soil communicates with the plants. And it has to do with the rise and fall of nutrients and water inside the plants.
Wow.
So in class this week, the Saturday class, he said, if you find the plants that the gophers like to eat, just plant more of them. So they don't kill everything. Like last year, they killed half of the bean plants, but then the other ones came back and thrived. So it's like, okay, learning how to work with nature in a new way.
Huh.
And not just kill off everything we don't like. So on Saturday, we switched from we're going to have the work party put in raised beds with gopher mesh in it. And now we're not doing that. So we just changed our whole plan. And they are so used to me changing my mind every 5 minutes. But every time I learn something new, it kind of like flips it over to okay, what now? But anyway, so far so good. Nobody's mad at me as far as I can tell. And we're just doing the best we can over here. And we welcome help, light, ideas. If you learn things about regenerative gardening, please share it. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I don't know if I told you last week that I have this new inner experience of leaping into my 80s. So if I told you that before, I'm still on it. And if I didn't tell you, it's just like, wow, this is incredible.
So what's the latest status with the gophers? Because I'm quite, gophers are sort of a main feature for you. So,
well, an interesting thing about them, first of all, one of our cats, Milo, has delivered baby gophers to us up on the porch a few times. So the other thing about it is natural predators like hawks, dogs, anything that can get in the garden that can eat them. So cats, for example, we're just going to work with it and see how we do. I mean, everything is an experiment to see how it works.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know that there are a lot of answers if you go online, and there are gopher smoker things and all that people are concerned about what it does with the soil and that, does it leave a residue kind of thing. So right now we're going to just try this way and just, I do have some vibrator things that go down in the soil that they don't like. It puts out a sonic thing and it uses batteries. So I'll put a couple of those in and see if it makes a difference. And
Well, if you do that,
we have gopher traps.
if you do the vibration thing,
Yeah,
you might have a part of the garden be a control.
right.
To see what effect the vibration may have on the plant production.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and that reminds me, Andrew, we're starting to keep notes on what we're doing.
Oh, smart. Yeah.
So yeah, so a control group is control and non-control group is good,
Yeah.
or control and experimental.
I met a fellow here who's very much into gardening, who uses these metal rods that are
Yeah.
meant to attract cosmic rays and benefit the plant life as it grows.
Wow, I'd love information about that.
Yeah, I'll look into
That
it.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because some of the books we're using now have to do with like all the astrology and the moon cycles and all that stuff. So we're tracking more, paying more attention to when we plant, what's good to plant when. I can't say we're 100% on it because now it's really time to take off with planting. So we've got to do some of it, but we're doing better. We're learning about it.
Well, the biodynamic farming is, the granddaddy of
That's right. That's
organic farming in an intentional way, using the seasons, and that's all Rudolf Steiner's information he brought through.
Yeah. Maria Foley did her doctoral dissertation on Rudolf Steiner.
Is that
I don't know if you know her, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was when we were in New Mexico.
Yeah.
I've heard about an Australian who has got an amazing gardening project, the Weedy Garden or something like that. But I'll get the information just in case there's anything that he's doing that might be useful and interesting.
Okay.
He's different. He's really different. He's kind of He's got his own. He's made it work for him. In a way. So it's an interesting story.
Yeah. So and as you say that, Anne, I think it would be really great if you not only send the article but also read it and send kind of a summary of it.
Okay.
That's for everybody who does it, because I don't have time to read everything.
Oh, of course you
do.
But
I can, if it seems like there's something usable in it, I'll go there and do some work, include it in our discussions and all. So yeah, I can't do all of it. I can't do all that, but I certainly can. Let's just go together on it and see what's worth it, or bring it to these meetings.
Yeah.
All of this can be very helpful.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do about it anyway. I found it was interesting. A friend of mine made a video about it, and she toured the garden with this guy, and he's just a really interesting guy in Australia. So,
yeah, cool.
How did you know, Linda, to put hay on the ground? I never would have thought of that. That's
because
amazing.
It's what I did in West Virginia. I had a beautiful garden in West Virginia, and I would, because it rains there quite a bit, when I planted my garden, which was, I was not so good with cover cropping at some point. So I would just spread hay over the whole place. And we had these huge bales, and that Bob Friesmith, my helper, would get from the fields for his cows, and there were always some left. So I would spread it thickly in the spring, and then because it would always be so muddy. So I always had nice pathways to walk on. And it was all around all the things I planted. So lightly, when you plant plants, you spread it lightly as mulch. But when you're trying to just make pathways and stuff, just spread it out and plant things between, make holes for everything. And my garden was really a food forest until I started reading about wood chips, and I put too many and they weren't old enough, and it really did damage. So my garden is probably back to being good again because I didn't plant anything last year at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll roll out hay when I go there, which I'm probably going there in April, and I don't know how long I'll see. I'm still planning to sell it. But I am also, if anybody finds any information about how I can offer it to somebody who wants to do regenerative agriculture or tree planting or whatever, I'd be good with that. But I need to let it go for me financially because it's expensive for me to keep it. Somebody needs to make it work as a working farm, or that they can afford to do it themselves.
How much acreage is there?
It's 200 acres, Andrew. Yeah. And it's beautiful land, beautiful land.
You know, of course, was a special circumstance, but my stepmother's family sold their farm to the Camp Hill community that was nearby that wanted to expand. I'm just thinking when you say regenerative farming, there may be an institute that, and you're far enough out that the land isn't outrageously expensive, I would expect.
In West Virginia, it's not so expensive.
Yeah.
The house, I don't know. I mean, I have it, what it appraised for after John died. And then I put a lot of money into restoring the house, which was built in 1814.
Wow.
So there's that. So, I'm just looking into it in terms of, I've had this dream of regenerative farming and planting trees and all that. There's a lot of invasive species that have blown in there. So, and the person who works for me he's not with it and all that stuff and not really willing to go there. So I feel like I have to start over with somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I think we're pretty complete. Anybody have anything else to add?
Right now, any other questions?
I'll keep kind of scratching away and see what I can find.
Okay.
And I'll send along. I've got what you missed is that some of these sites are as much about creating, the management and creation of a small scale farming or community garden. They're a resource for creating that. So to the extent that that's so, I'll send you a link for you to quickly peruse.
Okay, and if somebody could send a summary of what you talked about earlier in the meeting, Andrew, so that I can send that to David, rather than having to write it up myself. I am not going to be able to take that on.
No, of course not.
Matthew, in this recording process, is there an AI helper who sort of does that?
Well, Anne is the one recording it, and yes, I've seen AI summaries. I'm not sure I can summarize it from memory to do justice because you pulled from a couple different sites.
Yeah.
And I'll do my best to listen to it. I will do my best to listen to it. I'm not going to be at Monday's meeting. We're going up to Grass Valley this weekend, all of us, to go visit with Lee, LTY, to look at those cows that she wants to give us.
Have a wonderful trip.
That sounds like fun.
So we need to find a way to get to to sell off the cows we already have. So if anybody
Right.
has ideas about that,
Right.
they're Texas Longhorns, and they need to go to somebody who loves Texas Longhorns, which apparently is quite a few people.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's gonna be any problem. There's got to be a
All
marketplace,
right.
an online marketplace.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be online. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm happy for anybody who wants to research any of that and give me
Sure.
information.
I
Because
can.
you would, Matthew?
I'd be glad to just Google search it for you. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. I know there's an auction. Last year we thought of selling them, and it was last fall. I think there was an auction in Northern California, which means they have to get there.
Oh, wow.
Well, of
So,
course, they have to get to, yeah, if you're going to put them in an auction anywhere, whether it's, in Santa Barbara or San Francisco,
right,
you got to get them on the road.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
They're not going to walk.
Right.
we
just as
we don't have a horse to drive them.
as a quick aside, the cattle farmers here still drive their cattle up into the mountains. It's a 3-day event for the summertime.
Wow.
And
Wow.
they'll put like 3 or 4 herds together and then leave one cow herder up there camping out for the summer to keep track of them.
Wow.
Yeah, cool, huh?
That is very cool. I mean, I think they do that in Texas, but
Yeah.
it's a much more romantic there where there's really lots of grass and it's
Yeah.
green.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
And in future,
Okay.
I can set up AI. I haven't done it up until now, but I can in future. I can do the recording and I can switch on the AI, I'm not quite sure what it does, but I can switch it on. I haven't done that up to now.
That's awesome. It
Yeah.
can't be done afterward, it has to be done during.
As far as I know, yes, because you switch it on as the recording is happening.
Okay.
But
Great to know.
I'll do it in future along with the recording. We'll have the AI companion.
Fabulous.
Okay.
I feel like this would be a nice time to do kind of like a visioning blessing for Windermere and for the people who are working it. And would someone like to do that?
Anne's our vision gal.
Yeah, Anne. I was thinking Anne too.
You were?
Yeah, I was actually, because you're very good at this, kind of holding a positive
Just
vision
a little
for,
vision blessing.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is something you want me to do now, or do you want me to work on that and put something together?
No, just right
to
now, just as a
tie up
blessing
our
to kind of
meeting.
Oh, okay.
complete things here.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely right. Okay. So we just call in the light, bring ourselves together in the oneness and the joy and the blessing of being together and supporting this beautiful venture, the growth, the expansion, the fruition, the expansion in terms of the land and how it grows in produce and in greater joy, the expansion of visitors, work parties, people who take pleasure and joy in co-creating this land, honoring the beautiful gifts that John Roger made with this property. And we ask for a special blessing from whoever of the Chumash Indians. Maybe their spirits will support our endeavors. And we ask that the water that is stored on this land, we ask that be blessed also for the highest good. And we envisage at this time this most beautiful Windermere Ranch, growing in its beauty, its magnificence, and wonder. And we are aware of many miracles taking place. Miracles are the order of the day, but it's just our cooperation, our loving for the land and those who are on it, and those who come to serve it, including ourselves. And we're filled with gratitude. We get to be a part of this beautiful expansion, this beautiful land, and the messages of peace that it represents, individual peace and peace in our world. And so at this time, we place a magnificent column of light from the highest realms through the whole of Windermere, deep into the center of the earth, anchoring peace, harmony, serenity, and grace. And we ask that this column of light be connected with all of those light columns around the planet at this time, extending the blessings of peace all over the planet, connecting this matrix. And we ask that this matrix of light may alleviate any conflict, any disturbance, anything of a negative nature, and that it be lifted into the highest realms. And we ask in its place that the matrix place down showers of peace, wonder, gratitude around the whole of our planet. And we're so grateful for all of these blessings, the blessings in our lives, the blessings of being together. And for all of these, we give our thanks, and so it is. Berush Beshan.
Berush Beshan.
Anna.
Bless you all. I will not be here next Monday.
Hey,
Okay.
have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And
have a great trip.
I've got another meeting, so I have to go right now. I love you both.
Okay.
All.
Love
I
you.
love you all.
Love it.
God
Thank
Love
you.
bless.
everybody.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yay.
So
Love
we'll
you
meet
guys.
next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
Same
It's
time,
very
same
uplifting.
place.
Yes, always. I feel
Okay.
in the heart.
Toodaloo to everybody.
Toodaloo. Next week.
Toodaloo.
There we go.